Hi everyone, good afternoon and thank you for attending today's webinar. My name is Sheila Caceres from New Horizons Computer Learning Center and I am the moderator for today's event. I want you all to be aware during this webinar everyone's muted to help eliminate any background noise. If you should have any questions throughout the presentation, please enter them into the Q&A section and we will answer them at the end. I now would like to introduce the presenter for today's webinar, Bill Berger from New Horizons of Southern California. Bill, handing it over to you.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Bill Berger and I'm also known as the BergerMan, and this is not the first next level webinar I have done, but it may be one of the shorter webinars that I've done. This one is talking about the MCSA boot camps, and a big question, do they help you get certified, or can they help you get certified? I hope you have some familiarity with what a boot camp is. The problem that we have with most Microsoft certified training is that it takes up a lot of time. We have come up with a bunch of different modalities to try to improve that, to work it around your schedule, to have after-hours trainings and just on-demand training. But the reality is, if you want to get an MCSA, a Microsoft Certified Systems Administrator, or Software Administrator, or whatever the current acronym is, they just changed this summer, you're expected to complete 3 different courses, which is 15 days worth of training. And that 15 days worth of training is an awful lot of material. And you may have some folks working for your organization that are already very competent in the Microsoft platforms. Hopefully they're working with Server 2012 already, or they're working with one of the more recent releases, Server 2008 R2. You can't really spare these quality and important IT professionals for the full 15 days worth of training to get through the exams 7410, 7411, and 7412. And quite honestly, as it says at the bottom of the slide, if your already technically qualified staff has to listen to somebody like me explain to them what DNS does one more time, it really is going to get ugly. Their heads might actually explode. We don't need to be retraining the basics to people who already know the basics. What people need is the certification. What people need is to become up-to-date and current with the latest technologies. So the solution we have are these Windows Server 2012 MCSA boot camps. Essential information from 3 5-day courses bundled into one accelerated 5-day event. You will get the full courseware and remote lab access that we would have if you were taking the 3 separate courses. You will also receive exam vouchers for the exams so that you can take those at your leisure or at your own time. Why do we do this? Well, as they pointed back in 2011, we want to stand out from the crowd with our certification. It's one thing to have some real-world experience, and certification doesn't replace real-world experience. It's just that real-world experience is hard to quantify and qualify. You may know exactly how to do what your organization requires of you today, but you may not know how to do what Microsoft is making available for you. How do you know what new features exist in Server 2012 to make your organization more effective than it was last year? So most of the time when we are upgrading our skill set from, let's say, Server 2008 R2 into Server 2012, we learn how to do what we did with the last product with the new product, which might get us some great system stability advantages and maybe some greater performance, but we don't get to re-engineer new solutions. We don't get to take full advantage of the product unless we know those product's features. So certification helps us learn all of those things. So how do we do this? How do we get 15 days worth of material into 5 days? Well, first off, it's not easy, right? And this is not for the faint of heart. This is 5 consecutive 11-hour days. If a person can't put in a 5 consecutive 11-hour days, this is not the right event for them. This is not a day off work. this is going to be working hopefully harder than you have to work in a production environment to get this information. You provide us the talent, we'll provide you the resources for your success. This is absolutely not for beginners. All participants will be vetted via an interview before being enrolled into this event. Now, this is for two reasons. One, we need you to be most likely to be successful. If you come into this unprepared and you fail, this doesn't help anybody. This wastes your time, wastes our efforts, everybody's unhappy, and the last thing we want you to do is be unhappy with the products and services we provide. The other thing that it does is, let's suppose you're one of a dozen, 2 dozen people in a class, and you've got folks in the class who are just trying to come up from ground zero. They've never had a background into this, in IT. Well, they're going to drag you back. Not only will they not be successful themselves, but they can damage the success of everybody else in the environment. We want you to bring your talent, and we want those around you to augment your talent. We want us to work together in these 11-hour days to meet our objectives. So one of the resources available for your success is the Geek. In this case, I am William Berger, also known as the BergerMan, and I am an example of one of the instructors that would be delivering the boot camp. I will be doing so next month on 2 different occasions. And what I bring to the table is I've been a technical instructor with New Horizons Southern California since 1996, a really long time. I'm currently acting as the technical training manager, so all the technical instructors in the Southern California New Horizons area all work for me. I am currently a part of the IT committee. I've been an independent consultant, IT director. Microsoft even calls me a regional exchange expert, and for years I toured the country as a Microsoft representative wearing their colors, speaking as a subject matter expert on the tech ed floor about Microsoft Exchange and System Center Operations Manager, that sort of thing. What we're trying to say here is the person who's in the room with you is going to give you the best they can to see that you're successful. This is not a job for a new instructor any more than it is a task to be completed by a new IT professional. We need to be fully certified with Microsoft certifications, and it doesn't hurt to have some additional certifications to help round out your perception of the product. So the other thing we use is Microsoft Official Curriculum. This is everything you're going to get from the 15 days worth of training available in the 5-day class. Now, you'll have this available in an electronic format. You'll be able to read it in the class through we have multiple monitors on the desktop, so one can have your courseware. You'll be able to take it with you if you have one of these mobile devices and read them on your breaks, or read them in the evenings, or use them to prepare for the exam later on. We're not going to read this book to you. This would be a couple of thousand pages in 5 days. That's just not conceivable. But you shouldn't have to have it all read to you either. You bring some talent to the background. This will give you the access to those additional subjects that you might discover you don't know. You may be perfectly comfortable with 90% of the material, but when you hit that 10%, it's nice to have some place to go back and read about those things that you didn't know before you showed up. Another reason we can be effective here is we do effective editing. If you look at the website discussing this particular event, there are 38 modules listed. 38. This is way too much information. But if you dig into them, you'll find that many of the modules are redundant. And that's because the way Microsoft is delivering their training right now, their Microsoft Official Curriculum, is they're trying to deliver it much like we would consider parallel communications, with multiple channels going concurrently. On the 20410 class, we have 2 modules, introducing Active Directory domain services, and another module, managing Active Directory domain services. And we don't get any deeper than those 2 modules in the 20410 class. We do this layering approach. When you come back for the 2041, these numbers are wrong. The blue one should be 20411. That's where lessons 16 and 17 show up. You would, on the first day, cover maintaining Active Directory domain services and managing user and service accounts. A little bit more complex than we covered in the previous 20410 class. If you come back for the 20411 class, modules 30 and 31 in this outline, implementing distributed Active Directory domain service deployments and implementing Active Directory domain services, sites, and replications. Each of these technologies gets much more complicated as we go through the different layers of the course. And sometimes if you take the 3 classes consecutively, it feels like taking the same course 3 different times. Module 1 in the first course, we will deploy server from media. Module 2, Module 1 in the second course, we deploy server using Windows deployment services. Module 1 in the third course, we're deploying virtual machines through advanced services and System Center Virtualization Manager. But really the first module is all about getting the server out there, just in increasingly complex ways. So given all that, we can bundle these modules a little tighter and say, okay, we understand the basis of Active Directory, and here's some of the complexity, and here's some other things that you need to know about sophisticated ways of managing Active Directory. So that can save us quite a bit of time. New Horizons has one of the best labs on demand environments I have ever seen. I feel safe calling it a state-of-the-art lab environment. With our lab on demand environment, you can remotely connect to virtual machines at our data center from wherever you are in the world. You can do it in the class time. You can do it outside of the class time. There's not going to be a lot of time in class to do labs. We should already know how to install features in Server 2012 before we come into this boot camp. So spending a lot of time teaching you how to install features into a copy of Server isn't necessarily a good use of the class time. However, if you're a little weak on that, if you understand the concept but you haven't had the execution, don't know where to click, haven't seen the menus in a really long time, well, then you can do these labs, again, on breaks or after class or after the course is over and before you take your exams. You've got access to all the labs that we would do in all 15 days worth of training. Another thing is that we are exam focused, right? In addition to the Microsoft official curriculum and courseware, we're encouraging the participants in the course to go out and use Microsoft's own exam preparation material. There are these readiness reviews, there's discussion forums and resource wikis. There are videos, all kinds of things will be used both in class to break up the lecture and as potential homework outside the class to help backstop areas you might discover that you are a little weak in. There's plenty of great information in the courseware and lots of information in the lecture and presentation, but not all of it's on the exam. You want to get a focus, a pretty tight focus on the exam itself. So that's this next slide here. So each of the exams has a ranking and has a list of the subjects that are covered. For example, installing and configuring servers is 15 to 20% of the 7410 exam. So when you're getting ready for the 7410 exam, you need to make sure that you know how to do these things. We'll look at the individual testable objects in the class so that we know how to pull from the courseware and the lecture the stuff that will help you be successful on the exam. And we have exam vouchers. Testing vouchers are provided for the exams, and you can do them anywhere, really. Any Prometric testing center will accept the vouchers that we present, but if you're at a loss to find a Prometric testing center, we are also Prometric testing centers on campus. So should you manage to schedule a time slot at our facility in conjunction with the class, you can take it even on the same day, but it's going to be outside of the class hours. We just don't have enough time to give you a 2-hour break every so often throughout the lecture to take the exams. So you're free to find a testing facility that's near you, or to schedule a time slot at any of our New Horizons facilities. So really, that's all I have to say. If you need some more information about our boot camps, how we can make these possible, how we can make these available when they are being booked in your area, we'd love to be able to help you. We're here to help. And as it says on my tagline at the bottom, we pioneered technology training more than 30 years ago, and we've never stopped. I've been doing it for 17 years with New Horizons, pushing my 18th anniversary now. And the types of trainings we've done over all those years keep expanding, keep getting more complex and more effective. We've got people in each of our campuses excited to help you meet your objectives. So give us a call or talk to us through the chat feature at the end of this, and we'll get you in touch with the appropriate people to help you out. That's really all I've got, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you for presenting, Bill, and thank you everyone for attending. If you have any questions at all, please enter them into the Q&A section and we'll get them addressed. Bill, we have a question from Greg. Was there a SQL Server 2012 bootcamp, or was this just Windows 2012?
This one here is just on Windows 2012. This is for the MCSA title, not the MCSE. I believe there is a SQL Server 2012 boot camp, but it's not what I'm teaching, so I've got no familiarity with that. But we can find out for you.
Are there any other questions that we can answer? Greg is saying he was directed to this webinar for next steps for a SQL 2012 bootcamp. Greg, we'll look into that for you, and we'll put you in touch with one of our reps that can provide you with any additional information on SQL 2012 bootcamps. So I will have someone reach out to you right after this webinar.